Okay, good morning everyone and welcome to peopleHUB. If you've never joined us on peopleHUB before, I am Lisa Matthew from HBC and 1HR. peopleHUB is a community for people in HR, health and safety. You might manage people, you might even be an employer yourself. Basically anything that involves people, you are more than welcome to join our community. At the end of this webinar, we'll give you the links to be able to do that as well. We hold peopleHUB on the second Wednesday of every month from 9:15 until 10. So it's just a nice, short, sharp 45-minute session and then we're done. We always bring in an expert speaker and have an opportunity to network as well. So hopefully it will add value to your month. I'm delighted today to have with us Louise Griffiths from Talking Menopause. This is an organisation that aims to positively impact a culture change in organisations around menopause through menopause training programmes. You may or may not know this, but menopause symptoms can have a huge impact on your daily life, including your family life, your social life, and more importantly for all of you in the room today, it will have an impact on your working life. So for me, gaining more knowledge and understanding around menopause and just talking about it in general will hopefully stop it from being such a taboo subject. I'm really looking forward to it, Louise. I can't wait. I just want more of an understanding. But before I hand over to you, we're going to break out into rooms for 10 minutes, just for a little bit of networking, getting to know others in the peopleHUB community. Maybe even discuss some questions for Louise after her presentation. That would be great. But yeah, thank you everyone. And Dan, you can organise the rooms, please. That would be great. Right. Well, I hope everyone found that really useful. I know I did, because I was in the room with, I think, one of the only two males on this whole session, because it's around menopause. So it was quite interesting having such a forward-thinking male to talk to about this subject. Anyway, I do enjoy it because I love meeting new people in the community as well. So I'm going to hand over now to Louise, who's going to tell us a bit more about herself and Talking Menopause.
So good morning, everybody, and welcome to our session this morning. I'm from Talking Menopause. I'm just going to click across. So I'm Louise Griffiths. I'm an associate consultant with Talking Menopause, and I have over 25 years HR experience in a variety of different sectors. And in terms of Talking Menopause, we're leading and supporting you in your menopause journey. So we have different services. We have workshops and webinars. We have online learning development programs and also tailored programs as well to suit your business needs. I'm conscious today that you're from different organisations, so this is more of a generic presentation. So what I'm going to do is talk to you about what menopause is, what the symptoms are, and then focus more on the workplace and so on. And that will take about 20 minutes. And at the end, there'll be a session for Q&A as well. So let's start talking menopause. So where do we start? So who's affected? Well, all women are classed as those who are biological, transgender and non-binary, and over 50% of the population will experience the menopause. Every person will experience the menopause differently, so don't make assumptions. Everyone is different in terms of how long their symptoms last, how severe they are, how they react to them, their previous experience and different cultural backgrounds. Many women can feel isolated and alone due to the lack of knowledge. Phrases like old hag, old bag, and people covering up their symptoms by making jokes. We need to move forward with how this is viewed. And it's a negative narrative that needs to change. So what is menopause? Well, what's interesting is every woman will have different symptoms, and no woman is the same. And we use the menopause to describe the whole process, incorporating perimenopause and postmenopause. The menopause itself is when you haven't had a period for 12 consecutive months. Prior to this is the perimenopause, which is the time when symptoms start. You might see changes in periods, which might be lighter or heavier. You might see changes in mood, hot flushes, frequent headaches, and so on. Women's ovaries have two functions. One's to release an egg and the other's to release hormones. The ovaries don't just stop working, They decline over a period of time and the body then starts to react. This could be over a period of anything ranging from 7 years to a few months. Again, every woman is different. The average age for menopause is 51. Perimenopause average is 45. Happening before 40 is 1 in 100, and before 30 is 1 in 1,000. Early menopause can be triggered by surgery such as a hysterectomy. 80% of women have symptoms, and the other 20% still experience menopause but may not have symptoms. Of the 80%, 25% can have severe symptoms. Severe could be classed as it's knocked me off my feet, extreme anxiety, or change in overall mental health. It can make it difficult for us to do our day-to-day roles. Research tells us that half of women don't see their GP, they just get on with it. It's worth mentioning as well that some women put it down to challenges in their personal life. So you may be experiencing symptoms and think, oh, I'm not quite feeling myself at the moment, but you might have a sandwich situation. We have older parents and younger children. So it's worth, if you are experiencing those symptoms, to start to think, well, if I might be perimenopausal, this might be the start of something. So it's worth looking at how the hormones change. So you can see with the progesterone, that starts to fall at a steady rate, and progesterone protects the lining of the womb and helps with sleep, mood, and relaxation. But look at estrogen, it's like a roller coaster ride. The hormones could fluctuate on an hourly or a weekly rate. When hormone levels are at their lowest, then symptoms will be at their worst. They can fluctuate, which causes symptoms such as hot flushes. So looking at estrogen, estrogen is the body's lubricant. It affects every part of the body. So some examples here, for example, with the brain, it acts as a type of food. It helps regulate serotonin, the feel-good hormone, and could also cause symptoms such as brain fog, mood swings, which is due to fluctuating hormones. Additionally, the brain looks after temperature control, where hot flushes emanate from. With skin, estrogen helps the collagen in skin. Symptoms include dry or itchy skin. It's also a lubricant for joints and keeps bones strong. So believe it or not, there's 34 possible symptoms. And again, I say every woman is different. So your colleague or your friend or your family may have one symptom, you might have something totally different. So we use this visual, which I think is really interesting, and you'll pick up on different words as we go through. And if anyone here is today is, perimenopausal or thinks might be having symptoms, you might think, oh, I didn't know that, it might come out at you, but these are recognized symptoms. So from a cognitive side, symptoms include brain fog, where you can forget someone's name or forgotten a task at work. Can be especially frustrating or debilitating if you're presenting at work and you can't think of something. Weight gain isn't just down to bad habits. Women's body needs estrogen to deposit fats. So declining estrogen throws fats to the midriff, unfortunately. Lots of people can experience palpitations, bloating, loss of libido, and that's to name just a few. So you can see on that visual, it's quite interesting in terms of all those different symptoms in there. So what could the solutions be? First off is hormone replacement therapy, HRT. So that does what it says on the tin. The research says that benefits outweigh the risk of HRT. It's good for cardiovascular and for dementia. And the safest form is through gel or a patch which is absorbed into the skin. For progesterone, that would be either a tablets, which is the estrogen, or also a Mirena coil as well. There's also alternative medicines as well. Safer doesn't always mean it's safer or better. You'd have to do your own research, but it is recognised with magnesium for energy. St. John's wort is good for hot flushes. So again, go away and do your own research on that, and look for a kite mark if you're going to buy a product to endorse it. Complementary therapies is another aspect. So CBT, you could be referred for that through your employee assistance program or from your GP, and also mindfulness, yoga or massage. So there's lots of other areas there that can complement the menopause symptoms. And then finally with lifestyle, so look at what we eat and drink. So alcohol and spicy food can affect hot flushes, for example. And it's also important to get lots of exercise as well. So, you know, a walk outside can also make people feel a lot better. If it was a, you know, an overcast day, get out there, and that can help, you know, make you feel better as well. So if you're having symptoms, where do you start? Well, we endorse the Balance app, so which is free to download. And you can go in and it tracks symptoms and health. It can monitor changes and patterns and connects people around the world. So this was launched 2 years ago and it has 1 million users worldwide, and it's useful for symptoms, and you can take a report to your GP. And this app was launched by one of our directors, Sarah. Her sister, Dr. Louise Newson, has this business, Newson Health, and she launched this a couple of years ago. And I personally have been using this for a couple of years, and it's fantastic. You put your symptoms in every day and it tracks it. And as I say, you can download when you go to your doctor and you can say, here's a pattern and what's happening. And, you know, a lot of people do find it very useful. So if you're ready to go to your doctor, I would say go armed with what you need. So you've got your symptoms, you can sort of look into what sort of, you know, what are the options for me. So if you feel like your symptoms have been affected day to day, then you should see your GP. They can look at whether you are perimenopausal or menopause status based on your personal information. If you're under the age of 45, they may do a blood test just to rule out any other underlying health conditions such as thyroid. If you're over 45, then they'll look at your symptoms, and it's like they would talk to you about what options are available to you. They may also ask you to go away and do your own research, which is what happened in my experience. My doctor said, go away, see what you think you need. We came back and then they looked at putting me onto HRT about 6 months ago. So menopause at work, why now? So more and more people in the workplace are experiencing the menopause, and unfortunately, in some places, it's not taken seriously. The Equality Act 2010 has 9 protected characteristics, and ultimately the Act legally protects employees from workplace discrimination. When looking at health and safety at work, employers should ensure that the working environment does not worsen an employee's symptoms. From an economic perspective, there are 4.5 million women aged 50 to 64 in the workplace who are ultimately working longer in their careers, and there is a risk of losing their skills and talent if they feel they can't continue due to their symptoms. As facts, 10% of women leave their jobs and 20% change their jobs due to menopause. Many women can't afford to reduce their hours and may not want to. This would also have a knock-on effect to their long-term pensionable savings and earnings. From a social side, previously mentioned negative stereotyping, we need to have an open and supportive conversations, and support is crucial. By encouraging an open menopause positive culture and introducing reasonable adjustments, we can ensure women are going through the menopause and feel supported and understood, meaning they're much less likely to leave their jobs. We should be helping staff to stay in their roles, rather than having to feel they have to leave because of the challenges they're facing, and unfortunately that does happen. So looking at the Equality Act, as I said, there's 9 protected characteristics which legally protects employees from workplace discrimination. Menopause is not yet a protected characteristic. However, there are increased calls on the government to add menopause as the 10th protected characteristic. Currently, an employee could bring a claim under age or sex or disability. Menopause is not a disability. However, the symptoms could be seen as a disability. The Equality Act defines a person as disabled if they have a physical or mental impairment which has a substantial and long-term adverse effect on their ability to carry out normal day-to-day activities. Long-term means the condition must last or be likely to last for more than 12 months. Therefore, if someone's symptoms have lasted longer than 12 months, this could be classed as a disability. From health and safety side, many companies are not making enough reasonable adjustments. In the office, where is the safe place? Are regular breaks an option? How do you brief team members and engage their support? Is there a quiet time for people to recover from their symptoms such as anxiety or panic attacks? Are there access to showers? Do you have a contingency plan for temporary cover for unable to work? Consider how practical your existing solutions are and whether it would be beneficial to introduce risk assessments for staff who are experiencing menopausal symptoms at work. Women are struggling in silence and are finding it hard to cope at work, which is very frustrating. Unfortunately, there are some circumstances where women feel discriminated against, and a worst case scenario, it could end up in a tribunal, and that has happened. In 2021, there were 21 claims brought, so it'll be interesting to see how many there were this year. So a summary of learning from the tribunal service is really, as it says there, be open and transparent, have policies in place, offer reasonable adjustments, make sure that you are supporting your staff. So looking at the impact that menopause can have at work, potentially, the symptoms can cause all sorts of aspects, increased stress, people feel like they want to quit, they're going to be off work more in terms of how they're feeling. And that could result in being stepped over for promotion or not feeling like they can go for promotion. Forced to reduce working hours because of their symptoms, having their pay reduced. Ultimately, that might feel like they need to leave their job. And as the report said earlier this year, that 10% of women of this age are leaving work because of how they feel, which is a real shame. And you think some people have worked for however many years in their career and they feel they can't continue, and they're walking away. So talking about reasonable adjustments, so what is reasonable? Well, we need to support individuals, but also match what happens in the workplace as well. There are a number of factors to consider when reviewing reasonable adjustments. Each employee will have individual needs depending on their symptoms. An employer will need to ensure that adjustments are practical, affordable, and try to remove or reduce the disadvantage as much as possible. It makes a big difference to colleagues and could make a big difference between them leaving and staying in their organisation. So how do we support them from a workplace environment? Well, so those who are having hot flushes, for example, we could provide a fan at their desk and ensure they have sufficient ventilation near their workstation. Take into account uniforms. So symptoms including weight gain and hot flushes, the uniform may become increasingly uncomfortable. We need to bear in mind a tribunal claim may be brought if forced to wear uncomfortable uniforms and there's no reasonable adjustment made to support them. So for regular and quality breaks, potentially for brain fog, a safe or quiet place to go and feeling anxious or panicky, so I've previously covered, making the team aware for support, and also remember the adjustments could be on a temporary basis. So if the employee is worried about it, say we can support you, in what you need to do in terms of an adjustment, and don't see this as a long-term thing, let's just see how we go, and it might just reassure them. And in terms of working practices as well, what can we do to support? So change start times, for example. You may have somebody who has insomnia, had a terrible night's sleep. Is there a way that they could start work a bit later so they can still do the hours that they need, but just have a bit of a rest first thing in the morning? You could look at reducing their hours of workload, change their role. They may want to do something different, reallocate certain tasks. And look at adjustments to absence management procedures. So could you record absence management for menopause separately from other absences, and adjustments to performance management procedures? So if you're looking at the year-end appraisal, take into account that the year they've had and the symptoms that they might have found it difficult, or if they're preparing for a report or a paper or presentation and they're having brain fog, it's just making sure those adjustments are there and providing regular breaks as well. So for those of you on a personal level who are feeling that you are having the symptoms, we'd suggest that you'd speak to your manager and your colleagues and say, these are my symptoms. On a good day, these menopause symptoms have the following impact on me at work, and on a bad day. So it's really, what should you notice them on a good or bad day? And some people don't want to talk about it all the time. They'll say, okay, I'm perimenopausal, I'm at work, I'm having a good day today. If I'm not, then you'll know, because I'll be like this. And otherwise, people just want to get on with their jobs. They don't always want to talk about it. So not everybody's the same. So overall, keep talking menopause. So awareness and understanding, it's not just about hot flushes. So every woman is different. Look at all those symptoms that we looked at before. Normalise it. make it visible, break the silence, let's break these taboos, let's get people talking about it, and share your knowledge as well. You know, I'm happy to share, you know, my journey that I've been on, and I've been on HRT 6 months. And I think the more we talk about it, we'll break down those barriers. And if you think about it, we're the first generation that are talking about it, and it's just normalizing that conversation. So, you know, you could be at work saying, I can't think of that right now, I'm having a bit of brain fog, and no one's going to think, oh, everyone will think, okay, right, okay, what can we do to support you? So in terms of signposting, I mentioned previously Dr. Louise Newson. So if you have any medical queries, because we're not doctors, we would refer you to Balance, the app as well. So that's the information there. And also in terms of us, we're Talking Menopause, so our website's there. And then in terms of feedback for today, I know we're going to do the QA in a minute, but if I could ask you to hold your phones up to the QR code and give us feedback on today, it's really important to us. And we do really read through them, and we share it around with colleagues and see how we can improve the information that we're giving. So if you are able to do the QR code, and there's also a link on there as well. And if you need me to go back to that before we finish, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. That was fantastic. Real quite eye-opening, some of the things that you were saying there.
Bit of a whistle-stop tour. I'm conscious in 20 minutes I wanted to tell you as much as I could.
I'm curious about the app. How would people get that app?
It's free. It's free to download. So you go into your app, whatever phone you'd be on. And I did that a couple of years ago, actually, because I was experiencing perimenopausal symptoms. I was having anxiety, a lot of anxiety, and I thought, this isn't me. And it was a very good friend of mine says, look at the Balance app, and you go in and you put your symptoms in, and it gives you a time. I have my timer at 9 in the evening. Kids are in bed, time to do it. And it will say, how's your symptoms been today? And you can track it. So you can say, okay, at certain times of the month, I might be having insomnia or night sweats. And when you go to your doctor, or just to talk to your friends, say, look, I've got a pattern here. But there's so much information on the Balance app. You've got all sorts of information, such as evidence-based facts, information, booklets, flyers, podcasts, anything ranging from you know, men supporting women and partners. There's absolute sort of a whole wealth of information, and that's all produced by a menopause doctor. So we're doing the education, but this is really technical, and I know a lot of people find that extremely useful, that app.
Yeah, it's so we'll send your details out to everyone as well. Is there, you know, like you can get like the App Store and the Google Store type things that you can send out with it? Can we have that to send out with your details?
Yeah, I can send some information over about the apps. I think to me, it's a very easy app to use. You can go in and learn all about the menopause, and it's very user friendly. It's aesthetically pleasing and so on. So that's for the signposting from a medical perspective. But in terms of what we do manager training, we do lots of different general awareness. And what we do is we talk to organisations and say, this is what the menopause is. And a lot of people are like, oh, okay, well, I didn't understand they were the symptoms. You may think of a colleague, you know, I've done that in reflection, thinking I've worked with people, I think they were probably perimenopausal at the time. You know, it's about educating and breaking down the taboos to actually say, let's talk about it.
Oh, Alison's just said she's downloaded the app.
Oh, great. Really thank you, Alison.
Thank you, Alison.
It's really good, really good. I say I personally used it myself, and I do think it's when you see a link between how you're feeling, and I think with doctors, you know, it's that feeling of this is how and they will, when they listened, it's just that light bulb moment of brilliant, you know. And the HRT was right for me. It's not right for everybody, but I think because I've been on that journey myself, I'm really passionate about getting the word out there. So
no, it was really good presentation. Paula has also downloaded the app, she says. Has anybody got any questions for Louise? Anything that they'd like to ask now? You can either come off mute and ask verbally or on the chat. It's up to you. If it's easier, we can ask Dan to take the recording off. No questions. Okay, well, We will share Louise's details with everyone on email, and hopefully we'll be able to share the app details as well. I think we can all agree it's been a very, very useful session today, and we've probably learned things that we didn't know about menopause. I know I have. So thank you, Louise. Thank you a lot, very much. Thank you to everyone else for joining us on peopleHUB today. If you're not in the community, we have the links to our closed groups, hopefully coming on the screen now, Dan.
No, actually remove that slide.
You've removed the slide, great. Well, we will send that an email then. Brilliant, that's fine. We are back here on Wednesday, the 9th of November at 9:15 AM. Block it out in your diaries, and we will announce our next topic and speaker very soon. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. And we look forward to seeing you all again then. Thank you for coming, everyone. Speak soon.